do you think we don't think about them? She said, I think about her 100 times a day. You're not going to remind me all of a sudden that she's gone. And that also kind of validated that we are doing good work by seeing these moms in their grief and reminding them, like, on a day we're just so happy in Mother's Day and you're going to have tea or brunch or whatever nice thing you're doing. There's people that are really hurting and we're meeting them there.
Hey friend, welcome to the Growing Kindness Podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Kitchen, founder of the Growing Kindness Movement. This is a place where we grow together, learning to root our lives in kindness, connection, and community. If you've ever wished the world felt a little softer, a little more neighborly, or if you're craving stories that remind you that goodness still grows, you're in the right place. Together with our guests, we'll share stories of generosity and community, proof that even the smallest acts of kindness, from growing and giving cut flowers to everyday acts of care, can change lives and connect us in powerful ways. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. This season is made possible by Heirloom Roses, our Season 2 sponsor. We're deeply grateful for their generosity that helps carry the Growing Kindness mission forward and makes these stories possible. I am so honored to be joined today by Ashley Manning. Ashley is the heart behind Watch Love Grow, a beautiful mission born from loss, love, and a desire to show up for others in some of the most difficult times, but in the most beautiful ways. Ashley, we're so honored to get to be with you today. So excited to learn about your mission, Watch Love Grow. Do you want to start out with just sharing a little bit about you and what corner of the world you're growing kindness in?
Yes, of course. Thank you. It's been a long time coming. I know we've been trying to get this scheduled and the timing is now perfect and right. And I'm so grateful for you guys for sharing kindness. I appreciate that so much. I live here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we have been here for almost 20 years. Actually, my husband and I moved here in 2006. We're both Pennsylvania natives. We met in college and we have 4 children, 14, almost 13, 10 and 7, 3 boys, 1 girl. And we have a very busy life here in Charlotte, but we're very blessed. And that's just a little bit about me. I started a flower shop back in COVID and this whole project grew out of that. But before that, I was a stay-at-home mom.
So tell us more about the beginning days of Watch Love Grow. What inspired you to get started and how did you get started? And I eventually will get to talk about where you are now and the work you're doing now, but I'd love to hear a little bit about how that's
the beginning.
Yeah. How was that seed planted and what did it look like at first?
We have a really big church across the street called Calvary. It's like actually shaped like a crown and it used to be pink. I mean, it's massive. It's like acres in the middle of a city, which is unique, but all my kids went to preschool there. So my oldest Tyson, 2s, 3s, 4s, TK, kindergarten. Then my daughter, the same. And our third child was starting his 4-day 4s. So I went and met his teacher. Her name was Kathy Evans. And she said, just have you guys been here? And we had never had her before, but I recognized her and I think she recognized me. And I said, yeah, Tyson just finished kindergarten with Mrs. Keast. And she said, well, did you hear Dorothy's husband's cancer came back? It's not good. And he had been sick when she was teaching Tyson and he kind of got through that, but then it had come back. And she said, he's probably not going to make it. And she said, in the next breath, I also lost my husband to cancer. And she just looked at me like you could see the pain in her saying that. I fought that battle also. And then, of course, I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I'll go talk to Mrs. Keast and I'm sorry about your loss and just go through the motions of the introduction on that first day. I have at that time a baby. And then we're like a circus that travels all together. So she was always entertained by flying in on 2 wheels, strollers, babies, and just a really sweet teacher. So at Valentine's Day that year, I was out. We have a Trader Joe's down the street also. And I thought, I'm going to make her flowers, not just get her a chocolate bar, but she must be so sad today. Like I just thought that. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't really preconceived. I just was in the store and I bought some flowers and I like to do that. And I'm kind of not like cheap per se, but like I know that I can make something a lot nicer myself than what I would probably order. So I made her flowers and I gave it to her. And I said, I know that today is a hard day for you. And I just wanted you to have these. And I'm sorry that it's a hard day. And she cried a little and I probably did too. And then we just left. And the next month, the world shut down for COVID. So in March, we didn't go back to preschool. The teachers at the end of the year in June came by. They did drive-bys where they returned anything that had been left at the school. They waved goodbye from their cars, and it was a sweet way, but that was the end of the year. And she got out of her car, even though like she said, are you comfortable with that? I'm like, yes, it's totally fine. And she said, you just have no idea what that meant to me. And she was so sincere about it. And here you're thinking like, oh, that was just some flowers. Did it really mean that much to you? But I think seeing her and meeting her like in her grief was just what she needed that day. So fast forward a few months later, it's now the fall. I'm homeschooling 3 kids and I have the baby here, and our schools did not go back. And we hired a nanny and for 3 days a week. And I had finally help for the first time as a stay-at-home mom. And I said, Johnny, I'm going to start making flowers. And I had made some for a girlfriend for her birthday. And she was like, these are really good. You're good at this. So I kind of just was like, let's do it. At that time, everybody was doing these pop-up markets outside. I don't know if that happened in your neck of the woods, but like somebody would host it in somebody's driveway, and local vendors, candle makers, bracelet makers, anybody that was selling things that now couldn't sell them was selling them on tables set up pretty with music and things in driveways. And so my girlfriend was having one. She has a company called Amen Jewelry. She said, Ash, just make like 10 arrangements and come. So I did. And that was kind of the start of Pretty Things. I started a little floral shop. My house is really unique because it's old and it's been added onto several times. So there's actually like an office suite in the house that was my husband's office and a gym that we turned into my studio. And he moved into the nursery, which is irrelevant, but he has an office still. We didn't totally kick him out, but I was busy as can be. Like we'd get done with homeschooling. I'd go to the market. I'd make all my orders. Johnny would help me like with the house so that I was actually able to start this little business. And that year at Valentine's Day, it was my first year being a florist. I just started thinking like, gosh, and it was very organic and it's still in my stories on my page. Does anybody know any widows? Let's think about the people this year that maybe need love more than the people that have love. And it was just natural questions. And people were like, yes. And we said, well, what if I donate a portion of my sales and organize it and we could collect money and you send me names and we'll deliver flowers to widows. And it was just like that. The names came in on text, email, Instagram, Facebook, 3 different emails probably. And I didn't even have delivery addresses. And I had to go back to those people. Oh, where are these going? Get all the information. I didn't even have a registration form or anything. And I went to social media again. I'm like, all right, guys, I need help. Like the flowers are going to come in. We have the money. We raised enough money. And within 3 weeks, we were ready to serve 125 people. And it was completely organic. 125 the first year. My sister lives in Pittsburgh, where Dick's Sporting Goods headquarters is. And it was a rainy Valentine's week in Charlotte. She called her friend, and Dick's donated 10 canopy tents to us. And everybody in my neighborhood brought their fire pits, like their solo stoves, because it was freezing and raining. And also we were social distancing. It was February, but a lot of people were still nervous. People had masks on, were in the driveway, and the right people just showed up. I didn't even know most of the people that came to volunteer. Like my friends probably were like, oh, Ashley, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? So it was a lot of people that didn't know me that great that came. And the cool thing is 6 years later, they're still the ones that show up, which I love. And it just really took off from there. The first year was when I look back at how far we've come with like technology and all these things, like I basically handed my phone to 2 girls that were under a tent. And they said, well, where are the names of all these people? And I was like, well, here's a charger and my password to get in my phone is this. And like, you're going to have to go in my Instagram and my Facebook. I didn't even have a note section of the names. It just happened so fast. And they're like, oh, we're going to kill you. next year we're helping you with that part of it because life was moving and I was taking my own orders and like it just was going and ended up being fine, but it wasn't very organized to say the least. And from there it's just grown.
Actually, I've had the privilege of hearing so many inspiring stories about people who said yes. Like they said yes to that little tug on their heart and look what it became. And I love that you just leaped in both feet first and you've built the airplane on the fly. So you are year 6 now with this mission. Can you share with us a little bit more about how it's grown and changed over the years?
Sure. The second year we were doing it, I had a little accident at home. One of my children, my third little guy, was playing in the playroom, kind of like fake punching, and he punched me in my eye. It caused a lot of damage, ended up having a retinal detachment. And then I have a real weird like disorder called PVR that every time they'd fix my retina, it would redetach. And that happened the first week of November. So we're getting ready to have the second outreach, and that's November. And then I had a big surgery for another detachment in December, right, like 3 days before Christmas. And it hurt. It was so bad. It hurt so bad. I just would like lay in my room. I couldn't even like come out, and it's called a scleral buckle. I don't know why it hurt so bad. That some people have more pain than others, but I could barely leave my room. I couldn't drive. Friends came over and wrapped Christmas presents for us. And I didn't know if I'd be able to do it that next year. Like it's 3 weeks, let's say, before Valentine's Day. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the stamina or the strength to even do it. And I was laying there the one night and after the first year, I had all these desires and all these exciting things I was going to do. And I was like, I can barely even hang on right now. But I made a reel, which I'd never made a reel on Instagram, and from little videos from the year before. And like you said, I just put it out there. Like, here we go, guys. We're doing this again. And that was the commitment that I made at that time. And by the grace of God, I literally was healthy enough to do this for like 4 weeks. The 4 weeks surrounding Valentine's Day of that whole year was the only 4 weeks I would have been healthy enough to do it. And we did it. 2 weeks later, I was back in the hospital with another surgery, and that's led to other complications down the road. I'm now permanently blind in my right eye. And that's a whole another story of all the things. But that year, the news took a hold of it. I don't know how. Somebody wrote about it, like on People, and then somebody from the Today Show. And somehow, I mean, we're on like the nighttime TV show with David Muir on ABC. I'm like, what in the heck? How is this happening? And it was just like God was saying, keep going. You can do it. You can do it. And that year, just 1 year later, we did 400 widows in Charlotte. That year also, my sister started the outreach in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I believe, that was the only one that year. So we made it through that year. The following year, we served 800 widows in Charlotte, and we were still working out of my driveway. So it was kind of like a mess. People everywhere, backing up the street. Police are out there. And an interesting thing is one of the reporters said to me, he said, I bet your neighbors love this. And I was like, my neighbors are all here, actually, which was true. They were all there. We were parking in their driveways. That was like really one of the moments that has stuck with me, that like the annoyance of the road being backed up or the buses not being able to get through, which we didn't realize, like, oh, this is so many people this year. We need like police to be like directing traffic. So then we got a policeman. The following year, we moved into a facility for the first time. It's a park that's just a couple miles away that has like an area you could have weddings or parties. And we grew again that year. We did it again the next year at that church. And then this past year, we were actually at my church, which was awesome because we had a lot more flexibility. We didn't have to rent the space. So like we could use it during the week to kind of prepare, where at the park I'm paying to use it and availability was different. So each year we've also added new groups. The third year, so the second year we had all that media attention. I get a call from a woman. We were at the beach for vacation, and she said her name was Kayleen Jensen, and she lived in Hutchinson, Minnesota, and she saw the project on the news, and she was wondering if I would help her to start it in Minnesota. Of course I did. And her story is so sweet. She said, I'm just going to find this lady's number and call her. And if she answers, I'm meant to do it. And she told me she really didn't like Valentine's Day. And I never really asked why. I figure she'll tell me someday why. But she now is serving, I mean, she just had her 4th year and served like 800 people in her community in a little town in Minnesota. Pittsburgh launched the 2nd year and they've grown every year. We have an outreach in Buffalo, New York. We have an outreach in Nashville, Tennessee. We have one in Houston, Texas. And then this year we added Sun City, Florida, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, Lancaster, South Carolina, and Columbia, South Carolina, all this year. We're growing, and I feel like it's been at a pace that I can keep up with so far. Like I couldn't have done it all in the early years this is my first year of having all my kids at school all day. You know how that is. Like the littlest one went to kindergarten. So I used to have like drop them off at preschool, pick them up in 3 hours, then go get the other kids. So I'm just so excited about how it's grown and how natural it's all been and felt.
It's absolutely incredible to see the power of one yes and how that ripples forward. I actually had no idea that you had launched in so many communities. I knew you guys were active in Charlotte. No, I'd been following along, but obviously not close enough to recognize just how far the reach now is. I know that people who are listening, I'm going to just jump in right now with this. I don't want to wait to the end. How do people get involved? Like if they were listening and saying like, I want to be a part of something like this. I want to do this in my community. How would they get connected and be able to do that?
Well, the truth is I'm still not like the most organized person in America, but I do my best. And social media for me has just been, I just do Instagram. Like I can't keep up with the Facebook and the Instagram myself. Maybe I'll get somebody to help me eventually. But if they follow along at Watch Love Grow Charlotte, that's the handle on Instagram. That's where I am going to push out information. I have a website as well, watchlovegrow.org, where there's going to be information. And I'm really excited. Like the woman in Nashville that does the outreach, she did it for the 3rd year this year. And her son watched his mom and dad struggle through a lot of the things that are kind of tough around it, more the logistics, getting volunteers and organizing thousands of people to go and make these deliveries. Nominations. Is it duplicates? Can we validate the addresses? People show up. It's not the right address and all of this. We've worked on it year after year, but he looked at it and he's like, Mom and Dad, I'm going to help you. And he created an application and a site for them that is basically like gold. And they piloted it at Valentine's Day and he's sharing it with everybody now. We're testing it still, trying to break it, adjust it. We're on calls every day lately because I'm piloting it for Mother's Day. And that technology right there was the thing that I needed to be able to grow. So now when people are interested, I can say, okay, here's your page. You're going to collect your nomination rather than, oh, you can use Google Forms or you could put it on a website or you could start your own and you can use Sign Up Genius. That's what we use rather than just throwing all this out there. This is like a one-stop thing. So let's say you wanted to do this. We'd have some conversations and talk about expectations and if it really was something a good fit. This year, a lot of my new ones, we started out with 50. Let's do 50. You can do it at your house. Because it's an easy way to start and you can do it well. You can learn about the areas you want to serve. And I just feel like that's a really healthy way to start with that number. And next year you can do 1,000 if you want, but let's do 50. So I'm going to be able to say, all right, you're ready. This is your page. These are the things you need to do. This is how you track your nominations. This software now is flagging duplicates. And there's so many details you don't see other than just the event of coming and making the flowers and the gift bags. That's like, you can do that in your sleep. There is no stress there for me. The stress is all in. Did we mess up? Did somebody not get theirs? Did they go to the wrong address? And this year was the best year we've had as far as like mistakes. We had one of the years we don't vet our drivers and somebody signed up and they stole like 6 gift boxes. And I don't know, but like they could. And we didn't have a system to know who took what. So when people were calling me and saying, Ashley, my mom didn't get hers. And I'm like, okay, well, they all went out. That's as good as I could give an answer. I didn't know who took exactly what delivery. And so now we know that, and we have really great stuff within this application to just like account for those things. If the people aren't home, they can upload a picture. We can share, exactly who nominated you, all this. So that's super exciting. And I feel like that is what I needed to be able to mentor people going forward, because otherwise it's a million questions. So we're going to be able to jump on calls and talk to everybody at one time, like as they start their page. And, what, from a fundraising perspective, what they should expect, how much they need to raise. We had some awesome national collaborations with Stanley brand and Cheryl's Cookies, which is 1-800-Flowers. And they donated to every Watch Love Grow group this year, both of them. That's the kind of the benefit of being like under Watch Love Grow, is that as we have these bigger relationships and donations and things, that I can help shepherd people to get started. And if they can't raise the money the first year because people don't really get it and they don't really understand, and then I can help them the first year. And it's like a one-time gift. If you do the work, then I can provide all of the things that you need. But then the next year, you're responsible for doing that. And I don't think it'll be a problem for people to do it the next year once the community kind of sees what we're doing. But yeah, so that's kind of like your long and your short answer.
Oh my goodness, but it's so incredible. First off, I think you and I sit in similar roles of having founded nonprofit organizations, and this seed of an idea is planted and you just jump in and you're building the airplane on the fly. And so it's always fascinating and encouraging in a way to hear that it is this idea that one person has, but it's all of these other people who come in and walk alongside of it and help figure out, like, logistically, how are we going to do this as a nonprofit organization? How are we going to fund this? But it's so absolutely impactful when you see all of those yeses happening and the way that it just continues to move forward. You're engaging so many people in kindness and so many moments of meaningful connection at such a vulnerable and needy time are happening. I actually want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. I know this about your story, but I'd love for you to share more about it. You mentioned A Mother's Love. Can you tell us more about that? You have sister projects now, both under the umbrella of your nonprofit organization, Watch Love Grow, one of them being the Widows Outreach, and now A Mother's Love. Can you share with us more about how that got started and what it is?
Yes, of course. So I think it was the second year, or no, maybe the first year we did the Widow Outreach. I was at my Mayesh, where I buy all my flowers. And Kelly, one of the girls that works there, came over to me and she said, "You did great, Ash. So what do you do for Mother's Day?" And I was kind of like, "What do you mean for Mother's Day? Like, I can't, like, I'm like coming up for air right now. What do you want? Like, Kelly, what mothers? Like mothers people that can't have a child, or people that lose their mother, or like people that lose a child?" And she said, "Well, I lost my daughter 5 years ago, and Mother's Day is just really hard." I was like, oh. And to be honest, in that moment, I was, gosh, didn't we just do enough? It was so much at that time, but it wasn't the natural time for me to think. I didn't have the bandwidth to think about that. But as the years have gone on and I've matured, my children have aged, I learned more about my community. There historically have been dozens of mothers who lost a child that come and serve for Valentine's Day. They're serving widows in a way that they are grieving and healing from their own loss. And so last year I prayed about it. And I had some hesitation because it's heavy. Like, child loss is so heavy. But a good friend of mine lost her son that year, baby Ben. And I just felt like, Lord, am I supposed to do this? And I mean, all the doors opened like instantly. And we kind of did it under the radar. We didn't advertise a ton. I just wanted to see how it would go. And I prayed for these moms, and I got one person that wrote me and said, "Hey, I nominated my friend and I would like you to retract the nomination. Talk to her husband. I think it could just make her spiral." So in the same way we were serving widows on Valentine's Day, we're now serving women who've lost a child on Mother's Day. Just to clarify, because I didn't really share that exactly. So here I'm thinking, oh man, are we supposed to do this? Like, the last thing you want to do is spiral somebody. So we very quietly and under the radar advertised, and we had a much smaller group. Our Valentine's Day is kind of like a party. We have a DJ and decorations, and this was very quiet. And we had our worship music playing all day, and we prayed together and laughed, and groups of women came in honor of a friend's child. And we did 300 in one day. We came together, did everything in one day. Everything got delivered the next day. We decided to do it ahead of Mother's Day so that we didn't just show up on Sunday and catch you off guard, that they eased into Mother's Day, that they would know that they're loved and that people haven't forgotten their pain. So I have a really interesting story. I was sitting in there and we just ordered Mediterranean food for lunch. Everyone's starving. We have like 6 deliveries left. And this man comes into the church portico where we're all sitting, and there's like 6 of us in there. And he said, "I'm looking for Ashley Manning." And he was like frantic. And I was like, here we go. Like I was ready for it. Like he's going to lay into me. And I said, "I'm Ashley." And I stood up and he grabbed me. And he just started sobbing. And it was like, oh, okay. So this isn't what I thought. And he said, "You have no idea how much this is going to mean to her." And I was like, okay. So I'm like, "Can you tell me like what's going on here?" And he said, "I was at home. I received the package. My wife is at work. I opened the letter to see what this is. And I read about it. I went to your site. I saw that you're still here for another hour. And I just had to come." So the man drove 30 minutes to where we are just to tell us. His wife had 3 children. Her husband was a lawyer, and he actually died of cancer shortly after graduating law school. So she was then a single mom of 3. And she put herself through school at night and met another man that she was very serious or engaged to. I'm not totally sure which one, but they were on vacation in North Carolina in one of the rivers, like up in the mountains. And her daughter got stuck in a rip current, and her fiance or boyfriend went in to save the daughter, and they both died. So she lost her second, almost widowed twice, and her daughter on the same day. And then he ended up meeting her years later, and they've now been married 12 years. So they're older now, but like that's kind of the history of the relationship. And he just said the loss of her daughter was something that you never will heal from. And he just couldn't believe that we had taken the time to do that. So of course I'm like, "Well, do you know who nominated her?" And he's like, "I didn't even get that far. I just came. I just wanted to be here." And it was just such a redeeming interaction for me. As I was telling you, I'm like nervous. Is this too much? Are we doing the right thing? And it was like a very strong yes. And then I ended up getting a note in my email a day or so after Mother's Day. And it was from a woman named Scotty. And she said, "Thank you so much for my flowers. I just want you to know about Janie." And she told me on and on about this little girl. And her daughter, who was like the female athlete of the year at the huge high school here in town. And she was maybe valedictorian, and she was going to grad school at Wake Forest and still playing intramural sports and all of the things, what she loved. And she would go to every game, and she ended up tearing her ACL, and she had surgery to repair it. And she had a blood clot, and she died just like that. And she just said, "I just want you to know about her." And as the mission has evolved, that's what I hear the most of. People don't want their child to be forgotten. Like they were really here. And I asked Scotty, I said, "Can I share about Jane?" And I told her why I was nervous to start it. And she said, "Ashley, do you think we don't think about them?" She said, "I think about her 100 times a day. You're not going to remind me all of a sudden that she's gone." And that also kind of validated that we are doing good work by seeing these moms in their grief and reminding them, like, on a day we're just so happy in Mother's Day and you're going to have tea or brunch or whatever nice thing you're doing, there's people that are really hurting, and we're meeting them there.
And there's no better work than to let people know they are seen and they're remembered. As you were sharing with me, I had the privilege of having Olivia on the podcast just 2 episodes back from this, and Olivia lost a child. And one thing that you are sharing, this just resonated so much with me with what she shared. And she said, just reach out to people, let them know. We're always so afraid of not doing it right that we don't do anything. and really just, it's better to just reach out. Just let people know you see them, that you remember them, that you're thinking of them. There's no wrong way to do that. And I love that that's the message that you have to share and that you are seeing through your experience too, is just to be seen and remembered and to know that someone cares about you and wants to be there for you, especially like the work that you're doing and showing up at these times that are days that for so much of the world are celebration, that feel especially heavy and hard, that they're being seen and remembered at these moments. Like that is such powerful work.
I told you earlier, sometimes you doubt, like, am I doing enough? Should I be doing this? Am I taking away too much from my family by doing these things? And then you have these stories or the letters that come and they just affirm like that this is, we were designed to do this. The second kid, the Lord says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your mind, with all your soul, and love your neighbors as yourself. And I love the idea that we're kind of flipping the switch on days of just, rather than celebrating the haves, celebrating the have-nots, celebrating the people that ache on those days. And I hope that it carries over into other parts of life, other holidays, or the birthdays of these children, or the anniversaries of their death, and that our friends would think about people. There's a woman in my town that runs a really big nonprofit, and she works all year tirelessly in the name of her daughter. And I mean, they have galas and brunches and this and that and fashion shows. And last year, before we went to do deliveries, I just wanted to make sure she was in there, and nobody had nominated her, the mom. I'm thinking, just like that. Like, people move on, they forget, like they don't. And I think that my whole goal through this, and as we add different ways to serve one another, is just taking the time to like know people, to know their pain, and to meet them there. You don't wear a shirt we talked about earlier, like that says like, these are my hard things. You see somebody jump out of their car and, you know, they have tears in their eyes, and you want to say, well, are you okay? You don't know what they're carrying. In fact, I talk to everyone. I'm a talker, if you didn't notice. And there's a lady at Trader Joe's, and she was really mean to me for years. Her name was Linda. And I'd always try to, she'd just walk by, an older lady. The one day she was doing the flowers there, and I was over there, and she said, I hate Valentine's Day. And I said, why? And she said, because I lost my husband. So all these years that she's kind of Scroogey, she's hurting. And that's just how she was. And the ironic thing is, the very first delivery for the entire Watch, Love, Grow Valentine's Day Widow Outreach Project was to her. Before Trader Joe's opened, I made a special one the night before because I didn't know where she worked or anything, but I confirmed she would be there that day. And my husband drove in at 7:55. They opened at 8, and he brought it to her. And the people there told me she carried it around all day, just telling everybody that she had been remembered. And I think that's just such a neat story, that you just don't know what people are carrying. And I hope that through this ministry, we extend more grace to people, because we certainly don't know what people are going through.
I love that. It's such a beautiful reminder that I think we're quick to have grace and compassion and patience for hurts that are visible on the outside. But so many of us are carrying around hurts on the inside, or walking through a season that's really, really heartbreaking. And so for us to just meet everybody, that be kind to everybody, because you don't know what kind of battle they're struggling with. I think your entire outreach reminds us all of that so much, as we don't always see those losses, and they don't go away. They have to be carried forever.
They do. And I think that a really unique part about this is that I've been able to see firsthand, like, the love that we've given out. It comes back. The people that carried me through, like, arguably the hardest, most painful year of my life physically, were all of these people that I met through this ministry. And the very first year, I can share this now, I don't know if I've ever shared it out loud, that we did the widow outreach. My brother had tried to end his life and then overdosed again. And it was so scary and it was so hard. And in the driveway that first year, no one had any idea because it was very private. We live in a small town in Pennsylvania that everybody kind of, like, my parents keep to themselves. My brother now has gone to the other side in recovery, and he's now speaking about his addiction. And so I can now talk about it because, of course, I would have to respect him. That day, nobody knew me like crying on the floor before everybody got there. So I think the love that we were doing, the people that showed up, the people we were going to serve, like they really carried me through a hard time. Not even before my eye stuff started. I mean, that was down the road. I did the last delivery of the first year, and it was to my neighbor, Libby Harris, who was 93. And I didn't want to do it because I was exhausted. And I got in the car because it was pouring down rain, even though she lives 3 houses down. And I said I brought 3 of the kids, the baby we left here. And I said to my son, Tyson, I said, you need to just go knock on the door and give this to her. That's how tired I was. And so he did, and she didn't answer the door. And so I said, well, just leave it on the porch. Let's go. I had gone inside to take a shower because I was so cold and my hair was still wet, but I knew it was dark out. We had to get this to her. So, and then I said, oh no, maybe just bring it back. We'll go back tomorrow. So as he goes back to get it, the door opens and she's with her little walker, and we all get out of the car. So now it's Marky, Mia, Tyson. And Tyson is 8, Mia is 6, Marky is 4. And she was so confused. Like, what is this? Wait, me? She said, when you've been alone so long, you forget to be sad on a holiday like today. But I just can't believe you would think about me. And she said, I feel like I'm going to cry. She just cried. And she said, and my grandkids or my kids never thought about doing this for me. And we stood there and we talked a little bit, and she told us about her. And my youngest had like longer hair, and she kept calling him a girl. And we just sat there and visited with her for a few minutes. And when we walked away, my daughter said, Mom, is that why you do this? And I said, what do you mean, honey? And she said, because of how it makes you feel. And I said, well, how do you feel? She said, I feel really good. Like, she was crying because she was so happy that we brought this to her. And that was just a moment like I'll never forget, is that even the example my children are seeing by us serving one another is something that they're not going to learn any other way than feeling it for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What an incredible opportunity to lead them and sow seeds in their lives that help them to see just how powerful even the smallest acts of kindness can be. Ashley, this has truly been an honor to get to hear the way your mission has grown from one small yes to now reaching so many communities across the United States and touching so many lives when life is especially heavy and hard. So you mentioned earlier that if anybody wanted to get connected with you and learn more about the work that you're doing, or maybe reach out to you about bringing this into their communities, the best way to do that is to reach out through social media, through
or a website.
Yep. Or your website. Okay.
Yep. Instagram. Yeah. Instagram will have like the most updates, but the most live updates, but the website has my contact information, my email and everything, and they're welcome to do that. Once we get through Mother's Day, I'll probably have an interest button on there to just try to garner people that may be interested.
Amazing. We'll make sure to link all that in the show notes below. Truly, what an honor to get to hear this beautiful mission and to be inspired by the work that you're doing. And I love the reminder to us all that what can happen when we just simply say yes. Ashley, I would love to wrap today with a question that we ask all of our guests, and that's, what's one small kindness that someone once shared with you that you still carry in your heart today?
I don't know. I was thinking about that for a second, and I think that, I know this is so corny, but the adage that, is age old that our parents told us as little children, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I mean, I think that really is the key to a life that is full, and a life that we care about each other. If we treat people the way we'd want to be treated, the way that we have loved people through this ministry, both at Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, those same people have loved us back in our hard times, and they've been the ones that are there for us. And so seeing that play out in real life, especially in my own life, is probably what I would say.
Thank you so much for listening to the Growing Kindness podcast. If today's episode encouraged you, there are a few simple ways to keep growing kindness with us. First, you can join the team. When you become a Growing Kindness gardener, you link arms with like-minded, like-hearted people from all around the world who believe that small acts of kindness really do make a big difference. To learn more or join the team, visit growingkindnessproject.org/gardener. Thanks to the generosity of our donors, membership is free. Another way to get involved is to become a donor. The Growing Kindness movement and this, our podcast, are made possible by the generosity of our donors. Kind-hearted people who believe, just like you, kindness matters. If you'd like to support the movement, visit growingkindnessproject.org/donate to make a gift and keep kindness blooming. And finally, if this episode touched your heart, would you share it with a friend? It's one of the simplest ways to spread kindness today. I'm so grateful you're here. Until next time, keep growing kindness, one bloom at a time.